In some of the earlier versions of Windows, they had to store various information about different programs and for the operating system itself. And they used a concept called INI files. Now they used other files also, but basically it's files stored on your system that contain the settings. And this is under my current Windows 7 machine. And here's a WinINI. If I right click on this, and I'm going to open with Notepad, you'll see different settings. So they would have fonts, extensions, there's nothing up there, but you get down here to Mail, and you have this setting. You get down to MCI extensions.bak, then you have these settings. Now if you wanted to make a change to a program, you either had to manually go in and add an entry here, or you had to have an install program that would update the INI. And you'll see that I have quite a few INIs out here, and I couldn't tell you what all these are. Nobody could. Here's a desktop. Here's some counters. There's ASP.NET, looks like. Let me go on that one. Excuse me. And you'll see lots of different options here. The idea was that you'd have an INI file associated with your computer program that you wrote, and you'd store it in one location, and then you can easily access it. Well, my concern was if I stored it in one central location, the same as everybody else, that maybe the name that I gave my INI file would match the name of somebody else's INI file. And I would overwrite theirs, or they'd overwrite mine, and there'd be a problem. I named many of my INI files strange names to avoid this, and finally I got to the point where I stored the INI under the same location as the program I wrote. So if I put it in a particular folder, that's where I put the INI file. Well, the nightmare maintenance of the INI files caused Microsoft to think of a different concept. And what they came up with was a registry. And this is a database. This is a registry editor that allows changes to the database. But it's a database of all the settings for the entire machine, in theory. Now you may say, well, what do you mean in theory? Well, you just saw over in the other screen how many INI files were on my particular computer. So some applications, for whatever reason, are still using INI files. And there's a reason for that. When you have everything stored in one location, in one central database, that makes it a lot easier to attack. It's not hard to find out where everything's at because it's right there. So from a security standpoint, you may find some programs choose still to use the INI concept. Now if I expand local machine, you'll see different options here. Current user, that's whoever signed on currently. And console, control panel. Now, in coming up with this, INI files did have a standard way back when, but you didn't have to follow it. Like my particular INI files, I wrote them like I wanted, and I retrieved the information. When Microsoft came up with this registry database concept, they came up with a particular way that it has to look. That you're going to have your name, you'll have a type, and then you have data associated with that. And they try to make it flexible so that if you add a new entry here, you could have strings, you could have binary, you could have all different kinds of options available. Now, when you're writing a computer program and you want to write out an INI file, you have to write out all these individual ones. Now that it might just be your install program, and install programs handle this for you. So you're sitting there, well, that's kind of a nightmare to write a program to input all these entries. Again, not necessarily. You may have 500 entries, and the installation file you can tell it different ways. You could manually for the installation, or you can have like a skeleton that's imported into the install application, and then it'll put it out here. So there's easier ways of doing it than just to write a computer program that adds all these entries. Definitely you can write a computer program. You write one through Visual Basic, C#, some other programming language, and you can add an entry directly through your program. Now this concept has been going on for a while. It's a sound idea. It does have some problems. We'll talk about later on in this presentation in terms of malware attacks, but it just makes it so much simpler to debug, to maintain. You still have to worry about naming issues. Like if I were to put my own information out here in this registry, and this isn't just specific to Microsoft, this is for anybody to input. You do have to have certain admin rights in order to update certain parts of the registry, especially for I'm under current user, but the local machine. This affects everybody. So to be able to change entries here, to delete them, to add them, you have to have certain admin rights for parts of this registry. Oftentimes under current user, you can input much of that yourself, because that's yourself. And when you make changes to any program, then it'll automatically update that. So of course you have to have rights for that. Now that's an overview of the registry concept that Microsoft adopted.